Welcome back to At the Heart of Birth. Apologies for my very glamorous outfit. I'm actually on call for a birth as we speak, so I need to be ready to get out of here as soon as I get the call. So no nice outfit for you today. In today's video, we're going to start to say goodbye to the notion of a perfect birth and instead start working towards an optimized, positive and compassionate birth experience. In the previous video, I showed you how understanding your physical and emotional needs in relation to all the different aspects of birth can actually help you to ask the right questions and make empowered birth choices. If you haven't watched the previous video, you're more than welcome to do so before continuing with this one. Once again, all the comments and questions left by you on the previous video confirmed to me and the birth professionals that I work with that there really is a need to show compassion towards women's physical and emotional needs in birth. Thank you for all the comments that you sent. I see people become parents almost on a weekly basis. I myself have worked that journey 3 times with the birth of my own children. So I mean it when I say that becoming a parent is far more important than how you become a parent. I mean, it's like adoption. Adopting a baby does not make you less of a parent. Therefore, different birth experiences does not make you a different kind of parent. Parents are parents. That being said, to completely not validate the importance of the birth journey would be irresponsible. It would be like saying to someone with a disability that he or she should be glad that at least there's not a different kind of disability in his life, and not validating the fact that that person is actually experiencing something, pain, loss, different things because of his or her disability. Not validating a birth experience in that way, saying that the birth experience does not matter, boils down to the same sort of approach. Birth matters. It's important. And because you decided to have a C-section, or because you had to have a C-section, does not make your birth experience less important. Why? Because the perfect birth does not exist. Before we continue, I would like to remind you of the 4 truths you need to embrace to achieve the optimized birth that you deserve. The 4 truths are: your birth team matters. And if you didn't watch video 1, you can do so now. Your birth team matters. Number 2, compassion in birth is not a nice to have. It's a must. It's an absolute must. Number 3, knowledge is power. Understanding your needs on a physical and emotional level in context of the different birth aspects will help you to ask the right questions and make empowered choices. And number 4, which is the one that we're discussing today, there is no such thing as a perfect birth. Instead, work towards a positive, optimized birth experience. If you're anything like me and you have a type A personality, you're probably asking yourself now, why not strive for the perfect birth? Becoming a parent is challenging and overwhelming enough without the stress and pressure of trying to achieve the perfect birth. Today, I want to relieve you of that pressure by sharing the following truth with you. Like with parenthood, the only kind of perfect birth should be yours. So you should try and make your birth yours. Own your experience. I know all about striving for perfection. In the earlier videos, I told you about the birth of my first child, which ended in a C-section. Today I'm going to tell you a bit more about my second child, the birth of my second child, my daughter. So after my unplanned C-section, I was determined to have the perfect natural VBAC. And for those of you who don't know what a VBAC is, it's a vaginal birth after cesarean. I was convinced or determined that I was going to have this perfect natural water birth with the birth of my second child. I was really well prepared to have a VBAC. I found the right birth team for it. I researched the pros and the cons, all the aspects about having a VBAC. I went for different courses to prepare myself. But what I forgot to do was to embrace the fact that no birth is ever entirely perfect. I'm going to cut a long birth story short by saying that I did not have my VBAC, unfortunately. That being said, I have seen many successful VBACs, but I myself did not. Nature did not work with me on this one, and I had another C-section. The good news is that it was a beautiful birth, because I actually chose to see the perfect beauty of it in the imperfect situation, if that's a nice way to put it. So I know about striving for perfection. I actually did that with my second birth, and then at the point when I realized that I was not going to have the birth that I wanted, I instead decided to embrace the perfect aspects of my birth, even if it was in an imperfect context, and it ended up being a beautiful, beautiful C-section. I had immediate skin to skin. She started breastfeeding in theatre. I could keep her in post-op. They didn't take her once. They actually did not nobody touched my second child for at least a day after she was born. Only my husband did. She literally stayed on my chest from theatre and did not leave my chest until I actually said that it was okay. So that was really an empowered experience, even though it was not the VBAC that I wanted. Whereas with the birth of my first child, I actually learned the importance of having a well-selected, compassionate birth team, as well as the importance of empowering yourself with knowledge. That's what I learned with my first birth. With the birth of my second, when I was planning for the VBAC and ended up not having it, I realized how important it is not to strive for a perfect birth, but for an optimized, compassionate birth. I learned that birth is this perfect miracle, and it's perfect, and it's a miracle. It is this perfect miracle happening in an imperfect world. And we can't control absolutely everything surrounding birth. We can prepare ourselves and we can do our utmost best, but we can't control it. And then the challenge lies in finding finding the beauty of that perfect miracle in the imperfect situation, resting assured that you did absolutely everything that you could, that your birth team did everything that they could, and then just loving your birth regardless, whether it's a C-section, a natural, a hugely empowering home birth, doesn't matter as long as you love it. I want to clarify by saying that loving your birth does not mean that you won't have any disappointments. And disappointments in birth should not be brushed off. They should be dealt with. It's part of taking ownership of your birth experience. And that is another place where compassion in birth is very important. Helping the birthing mother to come to terms with her disappointments in birth is also very important when it comes to the birth team. I've encouraged you to strive for a positive birth instead of a perfect birth. But what does a positive birth look like? I will give you 5 characteristics. Positive birth is one where nature is respected for her power to both hurt and heal in birth, and one where her incredible power is channeled towards the greater good in birth by your birth team, even if interventions are needed. Think about a wind farm. With a wind farm, we take the incredible power of nature, even destructive power in some instances, and channel it through windmills to create energy or electricity. That is what I mean with channeling the energy of nature for the greater good in birth. The second sign of a positive birth is one where you are allowed to make empowered choices that are respected by your birth team. That is part of taking ownership of your birth experience. The third characteristic of a positive birth is very close to my heart, and that is compassion in birth. One where you experience compassion in birth from your birth team and everybody that surrounds your birth experience. It's one where you actually feel heard, where you feel loved, where you feel cherished, when you are at your most vulnerable, before, during, and after birth. The fourth characteristic of a positive birth is one where disappointments are minimized. But when they do happen, you are allowed to grieve them without losing the ability to find the beauty amongst the small imperfections. And the last point of a positive birth is one where you and your entire birth team celebrates birth, celebrates the fact that you are becoming a parent through the perfect miracle that is birth. I hope you've enjoyed this theoretical overview and that you feel empowered. If you are truly committed to achieving an optimized, positive birth experience for you and your baby, and to find compassion in birth, I would like you to join the many other parents for my antenatal course At the Heart of Birth 1.5. If my years as parent and birth professional have taught me anything, it is that everyone needs compassion in birth. Everyone wants clarity and confidence in their choices. And everyone wants to love their birth experience. But where to begin? There's so much information. C-section, natural birth, water birth, pain management. There's so many things that you need to consider. And how do you know which information is biased? It can be a nightmare. At the Heart Antenatal course allows me to, together with other birth professionals, walk you through every aspect of birth in a step-by-step and in-depth manner. At the Heart of Birth is a 10-module online antenatal course which is delivered to you over a period of 10 weeks in the comfort of your own home. In it, myself and many other birth professionals will walk you through every aspect of birth in a step-by-step and, very importantly, objective manner. Here is a brief overview of what you can expect to find in the course. I'm going to give you an overview of the course. In Module 1, we will cover everything that relates to your pregnancy. It will start with the planning of your birth and include things like genetic counseling, which is basically the giving of advice to prospective parents concerning the risk of genetic disorders in a future child. We will cover things like depression during pregnancy, nausea and heartburn during pregnancy, food during pregnancy, and how that actually can have an impact on whether you have a natural birth, exercise during pregnancy, and then a fun one is packing your birth bag. That is if you're going to a hospital, but I actually also believe in packing your bag, your birth bag, even if you have a home birth. It's good to have things ready, but that will be explained in the course. And then before labor choices, which will cover things like if you are past your due date, what sort of induction, will you be looking at an induction, what sort of induction, if your baby is breech and you want to give birth naturally, what are the things you can do to maybe help baby turn, size of baby, and how that will impact your choice with regards to C-section. So that will all be covered in Module 1. Module 2 will actually cover the birth team. I have briefly introduced you to the concept of birth team and the different role players in the introductory series of At the Heart of Birth, but here we will actually go in depth and step by step and cover things from obstetrician, midwife, private midwife versus hospital appointed midwife, doulas, birth photographers and birth partners, and then also of course your secondary birth team. We will go in a step-by-step manner and explain each and everyone's independent roles and how they also relate to one another. Then in Module 3 we will cover the birth environment. First of all, where will you be giving birth? Will you be giving birth at home, at hospital, at an active birthing unit or clinic? The benefits of each, the downs of each, and then also things like equipment needed for when you actually give birth. So for instance, if you give birth at home and you want a water birth, things like birth pools, all the things that you would need, birthing chairs or stools. There are different things that you might need in your birth environment. So we will talk about that. Supporting services. For instance, if you give birth at a hospital, Does the hospital have a neonatal ICU? So all those things to consider. Your birth environment is also about the atmosphere, so it will cover things like sound. Do you want to listen to music? Do you want silence? All of those things are important. Then there's also things like smell, aromatherapy, lights, candles. There's pros and cons when it comes to candles. And then we will even cover things like what to wear during birth. At hospital, you will get a hospital gown. But this is also other alternatives. It will cover other alternatives in terms of what to wear during birth. Module 4 is about pain management, and here we will cover each and every option that is available to women with regards to pain management. From epidural to hypnobirthing techniques to water, everything that is currently available in terms of pain management, all the different options will be covered. Then module 5 will cover and talk about second stage labor. Now, second stage labor is when the woman is fully dilated and she's ready to start pushing, and she's actually starting to push. So all the choices that you need to make during this stage, but you actually need to make them in advance, but all the things that will relate to this or that will be relevant to this stage will be discussed. So yes. Then module 6 is the actual delivery of your baby. It will cover things like delayed cord clamping, explain what it is, explain the benefits. So there are many aspects in the actual moment of delivery that is important. Module 7 will talk about the C-section and what to expect during the C-section, the pros and cons, how you can get around the fact that it's not a natural birth, how you can keep it as natural as possible. We will briefly cover gentle C-section, so that will be covered in Module 7. Module 8 will cover the golden hour. That is the first hour of your baby's life and what happens immediately after the baby is born. We will talk about skin to skin and kangaroo care. We will talk about breastfeeding. We will talk about visitors during this very important bonding period. So we will cover all the aspects that will be relevant in terms of the golden hour so that you can think ahead and plan ahead for this very, very important hour in your baby's life. Module 9 will cover every aspect that relates to your baby's well-being during that first period after birth. So it's anything relating to your baby's care. We will cover things like sleeping arrangements, whether you want your baby bathed or for how long you do not want your baby to be bathed, immunizations, feedings, if you do not want pacifiers to be given to your baby, or if perhaps you do. You might want to consider, or you might want a lotus birth. We will explain to you what a lotus birth is. So those are the things that we would discuss in Module 9. Module 10 is postnatal care. That is more about you than about your baby. So this is when you will go home and what to expect. We will cover things like postnatal depression and the prevention thereof. We will cover things like breastfeeding and how to make sure that you keep producing enough breast milk for your baby. So Module 10 will actually focus on mom's well-being and also mom's ability to take care of her newborn effectively. So it's basically taking care of yourself so that you can actually care for your baby. That will be in Module 10. It's really important to me that this course adds value to your life, and I'm really confident that it will. And therefore, when you buy this course, it actually comes with what I call a Get Your Course for Free voucher, which is basically a 21-day money-back guarantee. You can actually download the first 4 modules of the course, watch it, and get your money back. I know you won't do that, but technically you can if you wanted to. The course will cost you $127. That is approximately 1,700 Rand. You get the full course for that, which you and your partner can watch in the comfort of your own home. The value of the course is similar to that of a a standard generic course that you will go to at a hospital or a clinic, but it covers so much more. Personally, I do not know of another course that goes into so much depth and actually provides you with all the options and choices. There are many other antenatal courses out there, very few online, and those that do exist often promote a specific choice. Imagine yourself going into your birth surrounded by a competent birth team that is compassionate, and you being confident and clear in the choices that you are making for you and your baby, and also secure in the knowledge that you will be able to find the beauty in your birth no matter the small imperfections. As a mother and a birth professional, I want to help you to have that for you and your baby. If you buy the course now, before the cart closes, you will receive 3 extra free bonus courses. They are Infant CPR, Gentle C-section, and the ins and outs of a water birth. You will also automatically become part of the Maternal Cup of Comfort group, which is a closed Facebook forum where parents can actually meet up, ask questions, and just generally encourage each other. Plus, the first 20 parents that sign up for the At the Heart of Birth antenatal course will also receive a beautiful Love Alda totem bag. So if you're ready to join me and become clear and confident in your birth choices and work towards a positive, optimized and compassionate birth experience, click on the Buy Now button below and I will see you for the full course. There's also one last bonus that I forgot to mention, and that is when you buy the course, it comes with a once a month live coaching calls where you can ask questions and interact with other parents that are on the course. I affectionately call what I do as birth photographer and birth mentor a labor of love. I've had the privilege to support and capture many beautiful, empowered, compassionate birth journeys for parents, and I want to ask you to allow me to support you in that journey as well.